Shanti, good evening. Welcome. Still the Mother's Day week, and we had a beautiful experience on the Mother's Day. And so the thought was to continue with that energy and experiment with this thought. How can I be a mother to myself? How can I be a mother to myself? Yeah. The relationship of a mother and a child is probably one of the most important relationships in life. If we have had a beautiful relationship with our mother, then that also gets expressed in our other relationships as well, right? And so what is it that this relationship has? What is this bond? The relationship of a mother and a child. What is it that the mother brings into the relationship? And how I can bring that to my relationship with myself is what we'll try to explore today. Right? So what is it that the mother brings to life? What is it that the mother brings to life? One of the things that I feel is a mother believes in the child. A mother doesn't look at the weaknesses of a child. Mother always is there to listen to the child. Mother is always there to inspire the child. No matter the child may be failing, but the mother will always be there, right? In the same way, it's like sometimes the inner self, or we call it the inner child, and then that inner child is basically the being within, right? That inner child needs a lot of care and a lot of love, a lot of sustenance. It's important to protect that inner child. And if you look at the journey of spirituality, I think it's uh, at some point we encounter a part of the self that is not healed, that is wounded. We encounter a part of the self. The more we, kind of get into that energy, we realize there is some baggage there. There is some old stuff there, right? And so that's the time when the mother has to be this mother has to take up the role and care for the child. So in order for us to understand what exactly is this taking care of the self, or loving the self, or mothering the self, right? We had a nice some years back some discussion on this, and we had made a little clip to understand it better. So maybe we can watch it and then we'll start the discussion. Were there some keywords that stood out in this video?
Yes, Om Shanti. I think I nurture myself by taking care of child within me.
Mm.
That's very important
Mm.
because as we get absorbed in this drama, so we forget that we are actually child or soul, right?
Mm.
And we start reacting to different situations and lose that control.
Mm.
I think by doing this, by observing ourselves, maybe every hour after an hour
Mm.
can get us back to our child nature.
Mm. Nice. Taking time for the self and to observe the self, not to be lost in the doing mode. Right. It says do less and be more. So being present for the self, am I present for myself? Or am I present for others? Am I respectful of myself? Or am I only respectful of others? Am I in love with the self? Or do I only love others? So this whole aspect of say, being an angel to the self. Sometimes we do wear a critical hat to judge ourselves. That's what I think in the spiritual journey it is so important. Because we realize that the soul has gone through a series of experiences, not only this life, but also in the past lives. And so once the soul is faced with an obstacle or something that doesn't seem to work, the spiritual journey can easily come to a standstill. And that's where I need to realize that, I need to care for myself more. Not to judge myself, just like a mother wouldn't judge the child. Right? The mother would always inspire, encourage the child. So having this inner talk, inner dialogue. Mhm. Mhm. There's a nice quote. It says, take care of myself doesn't mean me first, means me too. Mhm. Yeah. So I'm also giving time, giving attention to the self. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. It says, be you, love you, always, always. Mm. Be you, love you, always. Mhm. So many times we have a busy day and there's so much to do, right? And uh, there's one little slide here. It says, make yourself a priority. And I like the way he's making the schedule so that there is free time. Mhm. Free time. Free time means I'm not going to think about anything that needs to be done. Mhm. We're just my own time, where I can just be myself, relax, right?
Very
True.
very amazing.
Because what happens is we don't generally give that. Even our time for meditation, we are sometimes scrambling for time. Okay, now this is the time, now this is this time. No, but I need to find time for myself where I'm not even thinking about doing anything. And there's been a realization, right? Because the doing mode is so um, uh, addictive that sometimes we also say, let me do meditation. But meditation is not to be done, really. Meditation is not an act that way. Yeah. Meditation is just to disconnect and be myself. That's what meditation really is. So once a person who wanted to learn meditation went to a master and he says that how long will it take to learn meditation properly? He said 1 year. And then the um, person said, I'll try very hard. I'll do it day and night. Then how long will it take? He said 5 years. You know? So the master said it's not about doing it, right? It's not about, just another thing that we do in life, right? It's about cultivating a state of inner awareness where I'm not engrossed in the mundane. I'm not engrossed in what I feel is the regular way to live life, but I've detached and I've come closer to my inner truth. I'm experiencing my inner truth. Right? Mhm. It's really important, and that's what I feel in my journey. Whenever I have just taken time out, not do anything, even during a busy work day, you know, I'll say, okay, I'll work on it after half an hour. This half an hour, I'm just gonna, unwind, relax, and just be myself. And I've felt many times, insights come, solutions come in that half an hour, what I need to do. Because otherwise, they say it's an ant consciousness. An ant looks to be very busy and, it's running around and trying to accomplish a lot. But her vision is very, narrow. You don't see the larger picture. So one is the ant consciousness, which is the doing mode. And the other is the bird consciousness. The bird consciousness is the being mode, where it's just being. The bird is being. And because it can fly high, right? And it's safe now, flies, first love yourself. It is flying high, then it's able to see the larger picture. And so meditation really is that inner journey where I shift my energy from the world of doing, to the world of being. And it's rather simple. You just take a moment and go with it. There is um, another nice quote. It says, almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. Mhm. It's like rebooting. So I unplug for a few minutes, including self. Mhm. And it's really unplugging from the character of the role. Mhm. So that the inner child, I get to spend time with the inner child. Inner child is a good way to describe the soul, inner child. Mhm. Mhm. And when we talk about Purusharth, spiritual effort, a lot of times it's just paying attention. Like today also, Baba said about attention. Purusharth is attention. Just paying attention to the inner child. Mhm. Making sure that child is, not neglected, given proper care. And so when we talk about the inner child, there's there's a lot of research that has happened in psychology, and it's all about healing your inner child. So this inner child is always in need of appreciation. It's always in need of feeling secure. It's always in need of feeling loved. Yeah. And so to heal the inner child, it's like as a mother, when I'm available and I'm giving that time with interest, I'm not just, okay, like even a uh, mother, right? I mean, uh, I remember talking to some like a little child and they were, you know, not behaving well. And, but I asked, what, what do you really need? And they said, we want our parents to spend time with us, not in a superficial way. Okay, now eat, now this. No, no, but someone to really listen to you, genuinely, and not just project your, you know, ambitions or, your thoughts on the child, but to really take time to know the child, to listen to the child, to see how we can help the child, right? Mm. And so in psychology, there is this whole concept of how to heal the inner child. Mhm. Mm. By that, the concept is called by reparenting, reparenting the child. Mhm. Mm. So there is a nice little video if you want to learn something from it.
The concept of inner child. The inner child concept was created by Carl Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist who described your inner child as a part of your subconscious that recalls all of your past experiences and what you felt when that event happened, the good and the traumatizing. When your inner child is wounded, the negative emotions they cause you to feel can seep into present day and impact your daily activities and relationships. A great example is Rapunzel. Having a narcissistic parent like Mother Gothel taught Rapunzel and her inner child that she isn't intelligent, she can't do anything without her mother, and she can't do anything right. Had Rapunzel not escaped the tower and experienced the world her way, she would have grown to be a woman with that wounded inner child who still believed those awful things about herself and stayed locked in that tower. This is exactly what can happen when your wounded inner child isn't cared for. Have you been noticing your mental health dragging lately? This could be your inner child trying to tell you that they're wounded, and it's time to let some of the crap go. So let's talk about 5 ways you can begin to care for your wounded inner child. Be sure to watch until the end for a little disclaimer on this topic. Number 1, reparenting. When there's a child, there's typically someone in a parenting role to teach and nurture them. In her YouTube video, How to Heal the Inner Child, Dr. Nicole LePera explains how learning to be that strong, wise parent you wish you had can help care for your wounded inner child. Let's say you're really anxious about a medical procedure coming up, and you can't seem to think about anything else. You feel the anxiety and fear consuming you. But what do? You can practice reparenting your wounded inner child. How? Well, imagine a younger version of you standing in front of you and say what you would have wanted to hear from your caregiver. Maybe it goes like, "Hey kiddo, I know you're pretty scared about your procedure today. It's absolutely valid to be afraid since you're not sure what to expect, but you have to be brave. This'll help you to be healthy and live a long life." The holistic psychologist suggests acknowledging the emotion being felt rather than dismissing or criticizing it. At first, it might seem weird, but with practice, parenting your inner child will become easier and the wound may begin to heal too. Number 2, earning trust. When your inner child is wounded, chances are it's because you've been taught bad lessons or told lies throughout your actual childhood. As Carl Jung details in his book, Healing the Inner Child, the inner child is a piece of our conscious mind. Whether it's to look both ways before crossing the road or not speak when dad is in the room, our conscious mind uses these lessons to help us shape our outlooks as adults. Think back to our friend, Miss Rapunzel, and Mother Gothel. Mother of the Year over here basically told her kid she needs to be locked up for life to be safe because she's so weak, stupid, and gullible. After all of the negativity, Rapunzel's inner child believed that she was better off locked away. In reality, Rapunzel knows her way around a frying pan and can take care of herself. When you approach the inner child as that wise inner parent, you need to show them it's okay to trust you by providing healthy advice. For Rapunzel, that might sound like, "You are smart, strong, and brave. You have plenty to share with this world." It sounds a lot better than being locked away in a tower, am I right? Number 3, explore the past. If your inner child is wounded enough to be giving you some mental grief, you can assume that they've been through a lot of trauma in the past. In the book, Recovery of Your Inner Child by Lucia Cappuccioni, they suggest calling on your inner child to help uncover all types of memories, even some to help explain your trauma or triggers. One method Cappuccioni suggests is calling on your inner child. Grab a piece of paper and something to write with, it can even be a crayon, and put it in your non-dominant hand and draw a time your inner child was truly happy or truly upset. This can be a full-blown picture or symbols that remind you of that time and why you may have held on to certain emotions. Another option can be writing a letter of forgiveness to your parent, caregiver, for any trauma you experienced. This can help recover lost memories or create closure in a situation where there may not be any. This step is best done with a mental health professional to help navigate this exercise safely and to help unpack anything that comes up. Number 4, confront childhood trauma lies. Sometimes trauma can come from things you were told from your caregiver. These can be lies about you, your thoughts and opinions, or even your actions. They may not necessarily be true, but you were taught that they are fact. Licensed clinical social worker and YouTuber Patrick Teahan breaks down some of these lines in his video, 6 Lies from Childhood Trauma 2022. Some examples are, the real you isn't acceptable, or people don't want to get to know you. In adulthood, these lies can cause you to be a people pleaser and to downplay your likes and opinions or feel ashamed of yourself. Anyone remember the movie Black Swan? You have a 20-something young adult Nina living with mom in New York City. With those rent prices, okay, I get it. But mother keeps telling her that she's basically incapable of doing anything without her. Not cool, and not true. When these lies come up, Patrick tells us it's best to identify the source of the words. Is this something you say and believe, or is this something you've been conditioned to believe from a caregiver? And number 5, be mindful. It can be really easy to get wrapped up in old habits, especially when you're trying to create new ones, believe me. Say you have a parent with very narcissistic tendencies. It may be a daily uphill battle to not act like them when in a parenting or authoritative role. However, it may be a bit easier when they're being mindful of their actions, thoughts, and words. Thich Nhat Hanh, Vietnamese Zen master and author, explains that the first function of mindfulness is for us to open our awareness enough to recognize those unhealthy thoughts, words, actions, and patterns. Through this way of thinking, you can also become aware of your inner child and what they need to continue healing. How do you do this? Just think before you speak and act. When you make a point to ask yourself if this is a healthy act, it becomes easier to identify and stop unhealthy behaviors. This one is kind of tricky because it can be really discouraging when you realize you're falling into the same patterns. But be patient and kind with yourself. It's just like any other skill. You have to work at it to be good at it. And it's okay to ask for help along the way from loved ones, a trusted teacher, or a mental health professional. Unfortunately, it's true what they say. History does repeat itself, and a wounded inner child can be the root cause of this cycle. It's time to break it. This is something that may never be totally cured, but it will help to heal both your trauma and your wounded inner child. How else can you care for a wounded inner child to promote healing?
Informative, I felt a lot of different ways in which in psychology people deal with this healing the wounded inner child. And in terms of spiritual language, we can also see this is all basically our old sanskars that have been formed not only in this birth but previous birth, and then some experiences, they are stored deep within the subconscious and different ways. I think one way I really liked was writing with your left hand, or hand which is not your first primary hand, and in creating an image of a happy inner child, like a happy soul. That was really nice. Some other ways like mindfulness, and one was spotting the lies and realizing that what I'm thinking may not be true, but it's just something that I've been conditioned to believe. And another one was reparenting. It's like you develop a habit of having a dialogue with the self. Right? I talk to the self so that I don't get swayed by the emotions, but I'm there as a wise mother to actually guide the child. So even if there is a thought of anxiety, I just come there and say, okay, that's fine. And the first step in that was acknowledging the emotion. And I thought that was important. Sometimes we don't acknowledge. So if I'm feeling worried or anxious, it's good to acknowledge. Okay, it's okay to feel worried and anxious in this situation. And I understand you're going through this. But how about, another perspective? And that's where, Bhava's words and what we are learning every day can really help us. They say, okay, I understand you're having a bad day or having a few phase thoughts, but that's fine. And how about, exploring this for some time? And just like a small child, we cannot, order the child, now do this, do that. We have to convince him in a way. We have to make friends with him, isn't it? Right? And so when the right time comes, then we give the direction. So in the same way with the mind as well, and with the inner child as well, when the time is right, and then we gently, share that rather than, that's what we say, spirituality cannot be forced. It has to be lived gently, step by step. Right? I can only work on myself at this moment, in this, at this step. Mhm. And step by step, slowly and steadily, then we kind of, reach. But it's so important to be present, be available in this moment. And so all of this is basically being a mother to myself. Mhm. So one is to heal the inner child, and the other is to honor your inner child. Yeah. Says your inner child is the real part of you that is pure, sincere, innocent, and solely connected to your heart. It is the source of your true identity. Awaken this part of yourself again. Be loyal to the real you and protect what is in your heart. And I always feel in Murli, Baba is honoring that inner child. When he says Meethe Bachche, he is looking at the bacha that is, the soul, the inner child. He's not looking at, my external character. And in that somewhere, as I, listen, somewhere this, something awakens within. And as the soul is exposed to, this lullaby from the Supreme, right? And so all these keywords, right? To heal, to honor, to respect, to be present for, right? To be an angel, to listen, to care, right? To love, to nurture, sometimes to sacrifice, right? I need to sacrifice in order to give time to the inner child. So let us pause for a bit to see if there are any thoughts that emerge, anything. In psychology, there are 4 categories in which the inner child's wounds are classified. I got to, read it today, and it was really interesting. And those are, I just share, and can easily understand and relate to one or the other from time to time. So inner child wounds. The first is guilt wound. Guilt. Let us feel sorry or bad. So I'm guilty, so I'm feeling sorry or bad. Doesn't like to ask for things. So I'll feel difficult in asking for things. Uses guilt to manipulate. Right? Either I feel guilty or I make someone else feel guilty. It's afraid to set boundaries. Normally attracts people who make them feel guilty. Yeah. Normally attracts people who make them feel guilty. So those kind of souls will come into my life that will make me feel even more guilty. So if the soul is carrying a guilt wound, right? It's very interesting. The other is abandonment wound. Just feels left out. There's always this feeling, I'm left out. Everyone else is getting a chance, but I am left out. Fears being left, hates being alone, codependent, threatens to leave, normally attracts emotionally unavailable people. Right? So the attraction is of people who actually make the wound even worse. Right? And third is trust wound, is afraid to be hurt, doesn't trust themselves, finds ways to not trust people, feels insecure, and needs lots of external validation. Like I'll always seek for others' opinions. Doesn't feel safe. Normally attracts people who don't feel safe. And the fourth is neglect wound. It says struggles to let things go. Has low self-worth, gets angry easily, struggles to say no, represses emotions, fears being vulnerable, normally attracts people who don't appreciate them or make them feel seen. There is a really nice way to look at, the wounds that the soul carries. So the energy of guilt, or the energy of shame, the energy of abandonment, the energy of, we'll say, mistrust or lack of security or lack of safety, distrust, and then the energy of neglection. And all of this is, the moment I'm available for myself, it's easier to actually. And if I really think deeply, I can resonate with each one, right? Deep down, right? We can realize that traces of different wounds actually exist in the soul, right? And so being a mother to the self is really, eliminating any guilt consciousness, abandonment consciousness, like lack of safety and neglect. And I feel that's what God also is doing with us, right? Like as we develop a deeper and stronger relationship with God, that's what is making us free from guilt. He's making us free from an abandonment. He's saying, I'm there with you, I'm there for you. He allows us to trust. And then he also, allows us to feel seen, not to feel neglected. And this understanding, I feel, also allows us to, maybe also see, maybe the other soul, is operating from one of these based on their experiences in life, which is fine. But let me not judge or label them for this, but, just be available for them as well. Right? Mhm. Mhm. Does it kind of make sense? Mhm. Any other thoughts on this theme today of being a mother to myself?
Om Shanti. The topic itself is so beautiful. It says everything.
Mhm.
And yes, as rightly said, that inner child has to be taken care of. We need to take time off from our schedule. That's how we will reflect on what we are doing, and the quality of work will be better when we do those reflections, and that the time would look abundant instead of every day time being constrained. Okay, our things to do are not finished, but yes, if we take time, sometimes we actually and this happened to me just now. Otherwise, my days end at 9, and I was like, okay, I missed morning Amrit Vela and the knowledge. Then I was like, I have to go here at time, and I have to finish. So like I wrapped up my work 15 minutes before, and I was ticking on my things to do, and I realized I've completed, which I usually finish by 9 or 10. So if we take time out for, like here it says, for self, and even this was self maybe. So eventually our task feels lighter, and drama will play their part, and we won't get dissolved. So thank you, thank you everyone, and thank you Saurabh, again, a beautiful session. But the topic is very beautiful. This mother to myself, and mother is always special. That's one word. It's like almost similar to saying love, or you say mother, or you say love. And by God grace, we are blessed with so many mothers. So just connecting the dots here. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other inspirations anyone would like to share? Chance, let's take a moment to just go within. And get in touch with that inner child. Just completely innocent, wise, pure. This inner child is completely loved by God. I spent some time with this inner child, just taking care, protecting, nurturing this inner child. This inner child is the most important being in my life, because I spend the entire day with this being. So I take time to spend time with the inner child every day. And I enjoy this relationship. I am a mother to myself. Om Shanti. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your time and presence. Appreciate. Have a nice rest of the evening. Om Shanti.
Thank you, Saurabh, once again for a lovely class, thought-provoking. I was actually wondering how one can be mother to oneself, but you explained it so well. Thank you so much. Om Shanti.
It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Saurabh. Om
Thank
Shanti.
you. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Rikaben.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. It was beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Minaben.
Om Shanti Bhaiji. Thank you so much, Saurabh. Om Shanti.
Thank you.